Yeah, so we were dealing with the verse number 12, the Madhusudana commentary. We have almost done it. There is a little left, and we will finish that argument. He is arguing, contrary to what Sridhara Swami is a great commentator, and Nilakantha. Both of them have been generous enough to extend the status of sannyasi to karma phala tyagis, because that particular samatva is there in both sarvakarma sannyasis and palatyagis. There is some element of renunciation which is common to both. That is the point. However, he's saying that no, no, you are trying to confuse this thing, that if mukshartha is available, then you don't have to take into account the gaunartha. Like, for example, if actually there is a line, and then you are referring to a boy as a lion, but you have a lion, you are standing inside a zoo. Who is the real lion? The boy who is very brave, or the real lion in the zoo? The lion in the zoo is the one that you are referring to. So he's saying that the sannyasa word is very explained by Bhagavan, even at other places and even here, and therefore do not try to extend the meaning of sannyasa in order to include the karma phala tyagis. That is the basic point, but there's a bit of hair splitting, there's a bit of an academic debate. He is giving one example, one particular vidhivakya from Vedas, that amavasyayam, that in amavasya, you have to do this pitri yajna, that you do it. Now, this amavasya meaning is what? Amavasya is the name of a particular yaga. That is one interpretation. The other one is that no, on amavasya you will do a pitru yaga. So the pitru yaga, the pitru yajna, and everything will have phala. If you say amavasya is the yaga, then the mukhya yaga will have phala. These angas don't have any phala. They are only katvartha, that is for that particular anusthana. They don't have any significance beyond the particular observance of a certain ritual. That is the main point that is being argued here. Tatra amavasyayam iti karma grahane, amavasyayam iti karma grahane pitru yajnasya tad angatvat न फलम कल्पनीयम इति विधेर laghavam iti purvapakshitam katyayana. So Katyayana is saying this, that Amavasya is the name of the yaga, and then this Pitru Yajna is in fact one component of that. It doesn't have any special result or phala there. Anga ba samavyaharat, because samavyahara means it is sama ucharita, it is mentioned, just adjacent to a particular vidhivakya. गौणार्थस्य मुख्यार्थ उपस्थिति पूर्वकत्वात् मुख्यार्थस्य च इह अबाधात् अमावास्या शब्देन काल एव गृह्यते फलकल्पना गौरवं तु उत्तरकालीनं प्रमाणत्वात् तद् अंगीकार्यम् इति सिद्धान्तितं जैमिनिना पितृयज्ञः स्वकालत्वाद् अनङ्गं स्यात्. Because Pitru Yajna has its own timing and in everything, and Jaimini has verily mentioned it, and that is further discussed by in the Savara Bhasya, and therefore there is no doubt. And Madhusudana Saraswati is saying that there is a lot of commentary on this, that Katyayana, who is the earlier Maharshi, in our tradition, wherever there's a powerful argument or interpretation given by a later day scholar, then that later day scholar's opinion is accepted, provided there are no faults in it. There is no problem in the internal coherence of that argument. So many arguments of Sridhar Swami and Nilakantha is refuted by Madhusudana because he is finding certain internal inconsistencies in their argument. If there's a new argument which comes, which is internally consistent, there is not a problem. You always take the Uttarakalina interpretation. Satyam Karana Samagriyam, okay. Then he's saying, Ebam Sthite, if it is so, Sannyasi Sabdasya, now coming to the Drashtantika, our own Prashanga. Forget about that particular debate on whether Amavasya is the name of a yaga, that is the karma, or the Pitru Yajna is the karma. No, we are not getting into that. We have resolved it by referring to Jaimini because he has written the Mimamsa Sutras. We have no more any fights to do. Evam sthite sannyasi savadasya sarva karma tyagi yagini. So sannyasi savada is actually referring to the sarva karma tyagini. If you do it, mukhyatva mukhyatatvat karmini cha phalatyaga samyena. Because the sannyasi sabda is that sarva karma tyagi. Because sarva karma sannyasa also there is this chapter 5 to deal with this in great detail. So therefore, mukhyatvat, and that is the main meaning, karmani cha phalatyaga samyena. In case of the karmadhikaris who are doing it Ishwara Arpana Buddhya, they are doing phalatyaga. It's a similarity between the sarva karma sannyasis and sarva karma phalatyagis. That is a similarity, but they are not same. Gaunatvat, and that is they are gauna sannyasis. Mukhyathasya cha iha avadhat. Sannyasi शब्द का मुख्यार्थ क्या है सर्वकर्म सन्यासी, and that is not flouted here. तस्येव सनासि शब्देन ग्रहणम इति शब्द मर्यादया सिद्धम, and therefore by sannyasi we would understand that to be sarva karma sannyasi. That means he has finished his karma yoga and he has great vairagya. He has taken vividisa sannyasa and he has undertaken what is called guru upasadana. So he goes close to the guru, sits and studies the Vedanta. Satyam karana samagriyam karyutpada iti cha artha maryada. So for example, if you have water, you have seeds, and you have air and some sunlight and everything, then obviously the shoots come out very quickly because the karana samagri, the number of causes which are required, they are all present there. So similarly, here we have enough reasons to believe that this sannyasa is actually referring to that mukhya sannyasa artha. Because if you take the phalatyagi as sannyasi, there are some problems, and he will explain why. Why there are the problems, he's explaining. Tathahi, Ishwara arpanena tyakta karma phalasyapi. The person who has renounced the karma phalas. Tyakta sarva karma phala. He has already renounced the karma phalas. He is surrendering everything to God. Sattva Suddhyartham. He is doing it for Sattva Suddhi, means purification of his mind. Nityani karmani anushtito antarale mritasya. And then he is doing the Nitya karma anusthana, nothing else. And even that Nitya karma, he is not attached to it. He is surrendering the phala to Lord Krishna or the Ishvara, Lord Shiva, whosoever it is. Now, in this process, antarale mritasya, if he dies in the process, he hasn't achieved Atmagyana, but dies in the middle. What happens? Prag arjite pehle se jo arjan kiya hai unhone, whatever he has achieved, good, bad activities earlier, karma bhi trividham sarira grahanam kena varyate. Who can stop him from getting these three phalas? Ishtam, Anishtam, Mishram. These three phalas will be there because earlier, before karma phala tyaga, he has done some karmas, some ishta karmas, some anishta karmas. Together, there'll be some mishra karmas. Okay? That is how no one can stop it. Yoba etad akhyaram gargi abhiditva asmal lokat preiti sa kripanaha. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajnavalkya is explaining to Gargi, "Oh Gargi, please remember, having got a human body, the one without knowing the Atma who dies is definitely miserly. Why? Because you wasted a great opportunity. It's like somebody gifts you $20 billion and you are not investing it for improvement of humanity. What will you do all this money? So you are miserly. Same way, God has given us an opportunity to realize the self, to have self-knowledge. And if we don't do it, we are very miserly. That means we have to come back. We have to come back. That is what is intended here. Antataha, finally, sattva siddhi phala jnana utpatyartham. This sattva siddhi, what is the outcome of sattva siddhi? Why should we do nishkama karma for sattva siddhi? That is the preparatory step for atmajnana, jnana utpatyartham. Tad adhikari sariram api. And then, if we die without jnana utpatti, then jnanadhikari sarir prapti will happen. That means you will be born already with loads of pure mind, and therefore you will not be interested in the world. Like Bamadeva, the moment he was born, he told his mother, Mama, I'm going. Where are you going? He said, Yeah, but sorry, this birth, just because there was a bit of avidya, have come back. I'm going on the path of self knowledge, on the path of liberation. So that is given as a great example that you don't have to do the karma and antakarana suddhi and adhyayana for mukti. Maybe you have already done it. So because we are looking at a person not by taking into account his karma and his jnana and his efforts and sadhana in this life, especially in our parampara, we are looking at him as a continuation of a lot of sadhana over different lives. So only few people will be interested in Vedanta. Others might go and watch some good conversations. I mean, without any disrespect to anyone, there are so many great conversations on YouTube. Yeah, and you can listen to them and enjoy. And this Vedanta thing can also be boring beyond a point, isn't it? So depending on our sanskaras and our aspirations, so this jnana adhikara, if it's already there, then a person will quickly move towards reflection and the self. Like Aristotle said, that between activities and reflection, he glorifies reflection. He uses these two words, theoretica and practica. And he says that the one who is interested in theoretical reflection, he's sharper, he's a higher person, and therefore his self-realization is not about having house and car and having a following and stuff like that, because he wants to get into resolving a few issues which may not interest other people. That is the most interesting thing. It may not interest others. So tat adhikara sariram api tasya avashyakam eva. And that particular person who has done atma suddhi through nishkama karma, it definitely needs a jnana adhikari sharira in case he dies in the process. Ata eva vividisa sannyasinaha, the person who has taken vividisa sannyasi. Let's imagine a lot of people, including me, we have taken vividisa sannyasa. We have come here to study. There is a desire. We haven't got atmajnana. Sravanadikam kurvataha antakale mritasya, and we die in the middle. We haven't gone atmajnana. So what happens? Of course, you'll be reborn. You have to start doing sadhana. You have to accept that as a fait accompli. Yoga vrasta sabda vachyasya. And Bhagavan mentions in the verse number 41 in chapter 6, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Vrashta Vijayate. Oh, Arjuna, don't you worry. Do sadhana. If you don't get Atmajnana, you are not losing anything. And even if you do a little dharma like Trayate Mahato Bhayate, it will save you from a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties, a lot of adverse situations, eventualities in life, which will pull you down. A bit of satkarma, a bit of jnana agraha will save you, because a fraud guy cannot come and persuade you to accept some stupid thing as spirituality, because you have read the texts. So if he tells you some stories, you will not take interest. You'll say, yeah, but what are you trying to say? You will figure out what he's saying. So he's saying Sabdavasya Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. So you'll be born in a house where people are very spiritually inclined. There is a culture of contemplation and reading and meditation, all that. Vijayate Ityadina Jnana Adhikari Sharira Prapti Avasambhavini iti Ninnitam Saste. Sasta Adhyay mein ye ninnit hua hai that a person will be born in a superior spiritual setting so that he can restart his sadhana thereon. Yatra sarva karma tyaginaha api ajnasya. Even though a person is sarva karma tyagi, but his agya means what? Not stupid. It means anatmagyavid. That means he doesn't have final atmajnana. He's in the process, but he's a sarva karma tyagi. He has completed a great journey already. So he's he's almost going to register for PhD. You cannot force him to do another couple of credits saying that no, go back to the undergraduate course. No, he's not going to go there because he's already finished all that. Yaga apya agyansya sarira grahanam avasyakam. He has to take another body. Why? To finish that PhD course, that self-search, that exploration of the self. He has to do that. Sravana manana nididhyasana. That is the process. तत्र किम वक्तव्यम अज्ञस्य कर्मिणः इति. जहां पर सर्व कर्म फल त्यागी विविदिशा सन्यासी, ये भी मरने पर फिर पैदा होने वाले हैं। क्यों? आत्मज्ञान नहीं हुआ है। वहां क्या कहना है? जो अज्ञ भी है, यानी आत्मा का ज्ञान नहीं हुआ है, और साधारण कर्मी है, मतलब फल आसंग दोनों के साथ वो काम करता है. इफ देयर इज अ गाय who was craving for results and is simple karma yogi, but here and there, not a sarva karma phala tyagi, he is not a karma phala tyagi, he's doing some karma better than a tamasic person. Maybe he's a bit of sattvic thing and a bit of rajas in him, he's a good professional, much better than a person who is lazy or is a drug addict. Definitely he's very good, but he has to start from there. Obviously he'll be reborn. What to say of him? Tasmad agyasya avasyam sarira grahamana. And then obviously the person who hasn't realized, who doesn't have the privilege of that atmagyan, who is not a jivana mukta, he shall be reborn. Sarira grahanam. Iti artha maryadaya. So even if you look at the meaning of these words, you have to accept it. Siddham parakrantam cha eka bhavika paksha nirakarani suribhihi. Now, what is this eka bhavika paksha? It's a heavily loaded word. What is eka bhavika? Means that in one life, there are some people who feel that mera sarv karm khatm ho gaya, I'll not be reborn. That is quite stupid. That has been refuted. He's by Suri Bhihi. He's not only taking Vedanta scholars of the Advaita school, but even Dvaita schools. The great scholars like Ramanuja, Ballavacharya, Shankaracharya, of course, and many other scholars, they have all refuted, saying that karma शांत नहीं होता है एक जन्म पर, क्षीण होता है. Because the sanchita karma will be destroyed only when we have atmajnana. Otherwise, this karma will be there. Otherwise, when you go to Swarga, you will not come back. Swarga Prapti, you have some good punya phalas and you go to Swarga. And why do you come back? Because they are saying this Anushai, which is there in the hard disk, there's a lot of karma which is not yet fulfilled. You have invested in good and bad karmas. Once you go to Swarga and you had a bit of, you were invited to a dance program, and then there were celestial singers, and they then took you to that great garden where you had parijata pushpas. You enjoyed the fragrance. So you had all that. Few minutes, then you'll come back because there's a lot of papa punya phala. You'll be reborn again. They'll take out some more karma from your hard disk and process it and decide, okay, this time he's going to go and become a take entrepreneur. So you are back, or they will say he's going to go and become a gymnast. You'll come back. That's how it happens. As per the Shastras. So he's saying this eka bhavika paksha, that in one life one can exhaust the load of karmas by doing karma phala tyaga. No, these things are not possible. This has been refuted, and therefore only sarva karma sannyasi who gets atmagyana, he alone shall get liberated. Others have to come back. That's all he's saying. तस्माद् यथोक्तं भगवत् पूज्य पादभास्य कृतं व्याख्यानम् एव ज्ञायः. And that is why you must accept what Bhagavan Shankaracharya has said in this, and do not get confused by what other acharyas like Sridhar Swami or Nilakantha and others are trying to tell you. They are very generous, they are trying to make you feel good, but that is not true. Like for example, some modern day Vedantis, आत्मा को ढूंढना है, आप है क्या? आप आत्मा ही तो है. Saying you ask yourself, who am I? Ramana says. And one interesting friend of mine said, I used to ask that question until once in meditation, I asked, "Ye sawal kaun puch raha hai?" That is me. So I got the answer. Then I said, then you have Atmagyana. He laughed. Because the modern day ways, this new age Vedanta, this is basically a trick with the language. The hard work one has to do, no, that's not there. So, you listen to a few lectures by some interesting guy who's a new age philosophical guru, and you feel super happy because he's just appealing to your ego. He's saying, किसको ढूंढ रहे हो? आत्मा. आप कौन हो? ना सर मैं आत्मा ही हूँ. हाँ बस. Relax, enjoy. And no, Jivan Muktas, do it. You can do everything. Have drink, have fun, go dance, anything. I have married 4 times, still I have 2 more relations. No problem. These are all outside things. Atma is nirlepa, nowhere involved. Who told you? You are not affected. That's all game. This is lila. You can do no problem, and therefore you feel you are very happy. All your bad habits are approved, and therefore you come back and you're super happy. You lead your life the way you do, and that philosophical guru only wants you to make a few donations as frequently as possible. He's happy, you are happy. If you are very rich, there's a wonderful relationship. But what Madhusudana Saraswati is warning us is, please take what Pujya Pada Sankaracharya is saying here. No easy way out of this conundrum called samsara. It's a long journey. We need to be patient and we need not lose heart. Have faith in the words of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, but make sense of them in the right way. Not believe anybody saying anything about what is written in the Bhagavad Gita. That's all he's saying. Let's move forward. Tad ayam atra nishkarshaha. And therefore, here, this is the final conclusion he's explaining. Akartri bhoktru paramananda aditiya satya swaprakasha brahma atma sakhyatkarena. A long word, right? What is that Atma or Brahman? It's akarta, avokta. There is no kartitva, no agency, and no enjoyment, nothing. And then what? Paramananda. That is the ultimate bliss. Paramananda Swarupa. Without a second, Advitya. Satya, and that is true. That's Sachidananda Swarupa. And then Swaprakasa. It emanates light. It gives expression to everything. Nothing gives expression to it. Brahmatma Sakshatkara. When you have that Brahma Rupa Atma Sakshatkara, after a lot of Upanishadic discussion, Shravana Manana Nidithyasana, Nirvikalpena Vedanta Vakya Janena. And then that Nirvikalpa that you have without any kind of doubt or whatever, you have that final, beyond any doubt, beyond any faulty understanding, Vedanta Vakya Janyena, and with the help of this Vedanta Vakya, Chintana or Vichara, Vichara Nishchita Pramanyena. So you do a lot of analysis. What is the meaning of these Upanishadi Vakyas? And then you confirm, no, this alone is true. Then, Sarva Prakara Apramanya Sanka Sunyena. Just having Nishya is not good enough. This example is also given in Vedanta classes. You have gone to Iceland and suddenly you find your classmate is having a cup of tea. You are surprised. What is he doing here? Even though you see him, you have some doubts until you actually have a conversation and he answers your questions back to you in your mother tongue. Then you relate. How did you come? He says, no, I am writing a book. I'm writing a travelogue and I have come here. And you are there on a holiday and you have a good chat and that's it. Similarly, even though we study Upanishad, that Brahma Satya Jagana Mithya or whatever that we study, we might read it, but it's very difficult to accept. There'll be still some doubts because of Purva Sanskaras. Therefore, we have to have Sansaya Viparya Rahita Jnana. Jnana is there by studying, but Sansaya and Viparita Jnana, these two things are not fully removed. Viparita Jnana may be removed. You have Jathartha Jnana by proper studies. That Sanka might be there, doubt may be there, apprehensions may be there. Therefore, he's saying Sarva Prakara Apramanya Sanka. Whether that is true, that's sort of apramanya sanka, doubt. Sunyena, you have already gone beyond that. Brahmatma jnanena. Therefore, you have Brahmatma jnana because it is sansaya viparya rahita jnana. A jnana without any false understanding or without any doubt. Atma jnana nibrito. Atma ajnana nibrito. Now the sea is still going on and on. You have Atma Jnana, by which you have removed Atma Ajnana, the unawareness that you had so far, that avaranatmaka vritti. First thing is agrahana. There is a viparita grahana. Viparita grahana is a wrong perception. Agrahana is inability to see the truth. So you have this Atma Ajnana Nibrito. Whatever was blocking Pratibandhaka, everything is removed. Tat karya kartutvadi abhimana rahitaha. And because you had some Atma Ajnana, is a result of that ajnana or ignorance. You have kartritva, bhoktritva, abhimana, that I am the doer. I must get the result of whatever I do. Then you are rahita. You have left that behind. Paramartha sannyasi. So you are not a vividisa sannyasi. You are a paramartha sannyasi. You have completed the journey. You are the sarva karma paramartha sannyasi. Sarva karma ucheda suddha kevalaha. So all the karma, he has done karma phala tyaga, he has done the karma tyaga, then he suddha san avidya karmadi nimittam punaha na sarira grahanam anubhavati. And he will not be reborn. Because to be reborn, you need a bit of ignorance that I am the body, I am the agent. Then God will send you back. But that agency is not there. So who will come back? To come back, you have to be there. But if you are not there as an individual, you don't have that individual identity in you, then there's no one to come back. You have already identified yourself with the Brahman. So there's nothing to come back. And therefore, you don't come back. Punah sarira grahanam na anubhavati sarva brahmanam karana uchedena uchedat. Because the cause of this rebirth, the karana, is ajnana. And you have removed, you have uprooted that tree of ignorance. And therefore, no more fruits. The fruit is what? Rebirth. Janma, marana, janma. No fruits will be there in that tree because you have uprooted it. Yastu, avidyavan, the person who is actually not having that vidya, that means he has ignorance. Kartutvadi avimani. So then he has, obviously, I am a doer. Ahanta, mamata, all these things are there in him in huge loads. That kind of a person, deha bhrit saha, that fellow is deha dharanakari. I am the body. Sula sukshma sarira abhimani. That fellow, saha trividho ragadi dosa pravalyat. And he has raga dvesha, all these weaknesses. He has loads of it. I want it, I don't want it. Kamya nisiddha nisiddhadi yatheshta karma anusthai. Then he not only does the nitya naimitika karma like the sarva karma phalatyagi. He's not a karma phalatyagi. He's not a spiritual person. He's a agya. He has a loads of avidya. Then he will do kamya karmas. He may do some nishiddha karmas also, prohibited activities, raga dvesadi dosat. And therefore he does all kinds of karmas. Moksha sastra anadhikari ekaha. So this is the first guy. He's now compiling three kinds of people. So there is one guy, kind of a guy, the sannyasi, what is his the phala, three kinds of phalas he's getting. So he will get, he's loads of ajnana and he's a karmi, normal guy. And he's trying to leave. He leaves the karma and runs away. Tamasika sannyasa or rajasika sannyasa. He's a karmi only. He doesn't have karma phala tyaga. That is number one. Aparastu, the second category. Yaha prakrita sukrita vasat. He has done a lot of punya earlier. And therefore he is interested in Vedanta. He listens to the Guru and starts doing karma phala tyaga. He doesn't have Atmagyan. He has not completed Upanishads. He hasn't taken sannyasa, but he lives in his family, but he's doing karma phala tyaga. Kinchit prakshina ragadi dosha. So in him, raga, dvesha, all these weaknesses have become very weak. And therefore, prakshina ragadi dosha in him, they have lost control over him because he has turned very spiritual. That kind of a guy, which some of us, those who are doing Vedanta, Sravana, Manana, those are prakshina ragadi dosha, sarvani karmani tyaktam, asaknuvana, nisiddhani kamyani cha paritajya. So, this fellow, all karma tyaga he is not being able to do. He is prakshina ragadi dokshaha, but sarva karma tyaga he is not yet ready. Phala tyaga he is doing. So kamyani nisiddhani cha paritajya. So nishidh karma bhi nahi karega. House, car, money, big holidays, unnecessary relationships, he is not interested. Kamya and nishiddha, both he is dumped. Nityani namittikani cha karmani phalabhisandhi tyagena. Then he is doing what is nitya naimittika, the basic duties as a householder, as a husband, as a father, as a brother, as a son. He is doing those duties. Why is he doing it? No phalabhisandhi. He's not looking for any rewards and appreciation. Why is he doing that? Sattva Suddhyartham. He's doing it for purifying his mind. Anutishtan, by doing this, Gauna Sannyasi. And definitely he's also a sannyasi. He's a Gauna Sannyasi. Moksha Sastra Adhikari Dityaha Saha. So he is now Adhikari of what? Vedanta Adhyayana. He has done Sarva Karma Phalatyaga. Then his Antakarna is become Suddha. And then he studies Upanishad. It makes sense to him because he has already dissociated his mind from the cravings for things he likes. And craving, or this craving also involves hatred, aversion towards things he doesn't like. So attraction and aversion he has dropped. He has some degree of samatva, and he is some kind of a sthita prajna. He is now ready for Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. He has lived a life of Sarva Karma Phala Tyaga. So he is ready for some Anuchintana of the Shastrartha. That is the second category. Then third, Tataha Nitya Naimitya Karma Anushthanena Antakarna Sudhya. Then he purifies his mind with Nitya Naimitya Karma. Samupajata Vividisha Sravanadina Vedanam Moksha Sadhanam Sampipadayishuhu Sarvani Karmani Viditaha Parityajya. The third category person, वैराग्य हो गया, थोड़ा बहुत वेदांत का श्रवण भी कर लिया on a weekly basis, and now he wants to do nitya namitika karma anusthana he has done, and he has purified his internal consciousness, and therefore samupajata vividishaha, there is a strong desire in him. What is the meaning of life? Why am I wasting my life here? Shouldn't I do something extra? And therefore what he'll do, sarvani karmani viditaha parityajya, he takes permission from his wife. That is very important. If he has children, he makes sure that they are not affected, because he cannot run away when children are small. That is not permitted in our tradition. And the wife has to approve if he's married. If he's not married, the mother has to approve. Then only sannyasa is successful. He cannot abandon his mother and take sannyasa. That is what it is. So, viditaha parityajya. Then he does a viraja homa, and then there is another paramahansa sannyasi who initiates him. Brahmanishtam Gurum Upasarpati. Then he goes to one Brahmanishta Guru who is a Vedanti, who is explaining Vibhidisa Sannyasi Samakhyastrityaha. So this is the Vibhidisa Sannyasi. The Tattvavid, he is the Tattvadashi. He is the sannyasi, is in the fourth stage actually. He will not come back. All these people will have Sarira Grahana if they don't have Atmajnana. Okay. And then she's saying, Tatra Adyasya Sansaritvam Sarva Prasiddham. Pahla wala to aata hi aata rahega. He has to come back because he has loads of Papa Punya Karma. Dutiyasya tu Anishtam Ityadina Vakshatam. So, he's at that because he sort of is going to do the second category person, right? He's a Sarva Karma Phalatyagi. He's Agrahi, Sastra Adhikari. Trutistu Ayatihi. Sadhyapeta iti prasnam uthaya ninnitam saste. So, and finally, he is not doing any kind of yatna because he has taken sannyasi, and only for sarira dharana he will do some minimum. He is not anymore a karmadhikari. He has dumped all karmas. Will only meditate on the self. But he is not free from rebirth. And Bhagavan has not even approved that file. He has to have that Atmakyana in this process. Karma Tyaga is approved. Ajnasya Sansaritvam Dhrubam. It's certain that he'll come back. Karana Samagriyaha Sattvat, because the causes are there. Ignorance, Raga, Dvesha, everything. Tattu Kasyachid Jnana Ananugunam Kasyachid Jnana Anugunam iti Vishesaha. So, and this rebirth which is happening, something which will facilitate him, that he will have some jnana adhikara, he will graduate, and then there are other people who will actually, it's not jnana anurupa. So there are two categories which are mentioning that one rebirth will become anukula phala jnana prapti, another will become ananukula, will not be very conducive because of loads of ragadvesha. He might get rebirth in a very adverse situation from a spiritual point of view. That is how. And then Vigyasya tu sansara karana bhavat swatah eva kaivalyam. The guy who is becoming Atmagyani, there is no cause for him to come back. Iti dvau padartho sutrito asmin shloke. And therefore, he's saying that this is very, very clear, that this particular thing is amply clear in the sutra, that this rebirth, Ishta, Anishta, and Mishra Phala, this is not meant for the Mukhya sannyasis. They don't come back. This Nishta, Anishta, Nishta, and Mishra Phala is only for the three categories of people: the karmis with Ajnata, the karmis with Agraha for Jnana, and Sarva Karma Phala Tyagis. And finally, category is that Karma Tyagis, there will be these sannyasis. But still, they will have these three phalas because they don't have Atma Jnana. The Mukhya sannyasis who have left everything and they are already Atmavid, obviously they will not come back because they have Atma Jnana. Okay, now we will go to the next verse. Tatra आत्मज्ञान रहितस्य संसारित्वे हेतुः. जो आत्मज्ञान नहीं है उसको तो आना ही है. He has to come back. संसारित्वे हेतुः कर्म त्याग असंभवः उक्तः. Karma tyaga asambhava uktah. And therefore he cannot have this karma tyaga. Nahi deha vrita sakyam tyaktum karmani asesatah. That is what he mentioned in the previous verse. Tatra ajnasya karma tyaga sambhave. So ajnasya karma tyaga asambhave. Why the ajna cannot do karma tyaga? Why it's not possible? Ko hetuhu. What is the cause? Karma hetu adhishtanadi panchake tadatma abhimana iti imam artham chaturbhi slokehi prapancheti. Now in the next 4 verses, some people say the next 4-5 verses will deal with why the karmis will have to do punar sarira grahana, and that is explained in these next 4 verses. Tatra prathamena adhishtanadini पंच वेदांत प्रमाण मुनानि हेयत्वर्थम अवश्यम ज्ञातव्यतानि इत्याह. So he's saying that, look here, आत्म ज्ञान से Atma doesn't have any kartutva bhaktritva, right? Now in the next one he's saying why the activities give results. The karma has some phala. What is the science of this karma leading to some phala? Any outcome, there is a science of causality, and this is being explained here. But the Atma is not a karta. It is adhyarupita. It's superimposed by us because of our ignorance of the Atma is nirlepa, nirvikara, nishkala. We don't have that jnana as yet. We have read it. But still the mind is playing different kind of games. Therefore, he is trying to explain how the outcomes fructify out of what factors and what are the cause. I mean, how do we make sense of this causality in the karmic process? That is what is mentioned in the verse number 13. Panchemani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sankhye kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. Pancha imani karanani he mahavaho nibodhame sankhya kritante proktani. Thus this me proktani, mama proktani, sankhya kritante, sankhya proktani, siddhaye sarva karmanam. So there are 5 causes. Pancha imani karanani. There are 5 factors or causes. Siddhaye sarva karmanam. So for the siddhi, for completing all the activities, how any particular karma gives any outcome, that is the siddhi. It's not success or achievement in that sense. Siddha means what? How it matures. Whatever we do, how it matures into any outcome. There are 5 factors, and he's going to deal with it in the next verse. He's just starting that conversation in this. Okay? And he's saying, Kritante Sankhya. Sankhya here actually meaning the Vedanta Jnana. We'll discuss that. Kritante, after you do all this karma yoga and everything, then you will study Vedanta. And these are said by me. Even earlier in the chapter number 5 and 6 and 4, he has discussed all that. And since May Proktani, I have discussed that with you and I'm clarifying you. Okay, first we'll deal with the Sankara Bhashya, then we'll come back to the Madhusudana thing. Panchetani Mahabaho. Pancha Etani. And here they're written Pancha Imani. More or less, I think Pancha Etani should be, this is in the Astatika, and that Madhusudana is saying Pancha. Makes no difference. More or less, the same thing. Ataha Paramartha Darshinaha Eva Asesa Karma Sannyasitvam. Only those who is a Paramartha Darshi, the person who has that comprehensive self-knowledge, is a Paramartha Darshi. Eva asesa karma sannyasitvam. He can comprehensively abandon all the karmas without living anything, without having anything to do anymore. Sambhavati. Avidya adhyarupita tvad atmani. Now the whole question is the avidya and how sarva karma sannyasa happens. He's explaining now, Shankaracharya. Because this kartatva, that you have to do something, this thought comes from where? It comes from this compelling idea that you must do something. Who will do? Your hand, your legs, your mind, you will do it. And who is this? This is the Jivatma. And who is the Jivatma? Upanishad will say there is no difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. Eka eva, the Suddha Satta Chaitanya, Swarupa. Therefore, he's saying, Sambhavati, avidya adhyarupi tatvad atmani kriya karaka phalanam. Because these kriya karaka phala, all these things are imposed on the self. Now, once that ignorance is removed, sarva karma sannyasa happens naturally because you lose interest in anything, everything. And therefore, you become a sarva karma sannyasi. You will become sattva samavishta. You are all the time, you become atma rati sampanna. You become atma rama. So you are always happy in yourself. Natu agyasya adhishtanadini kriyakartrini. Not in case of this sarva karma sannyasa is not possible in case of agya, somebody who is not having atma jnana. Adhishtanadini. Adhishtana is sarira here. So, kriya kartrini, and then kriya and the karta and all this. Karakani atmatvena pashyatah. Then this mind I have, the senses I have, the body I have, the vision I have. All these are parts of what? These are aspects of my shukshma and stula sarira, my subtle and my gross body, isn't it? But I see them as myself. Now, all that we have discussed earlier, I don't realize. Chapter 13, we have dealt with all that, right? So the Kshetrajna Yoga, we have discussed all that. But this guy who he hasn't studied chapter 13 properly, he cannot get it. He must have studied 7, 8, 9, and then 12 and 13. Then it is easy. Then 15, then amply clear. But he hasn't understood all that. Then what does he do? Then he will see, no, this Atmaiva, my mind is me. I have my mind, I have this body, these are all verily me. So pasyataha asesa karma sanyasaha na sambhavati. So it doesn't happen in case of the agya. Tad etad uttarehi slokehi darshati pancha iti. And that is what is explaining that this panchetani mahavaho karanani nibodhame. Pancha imani vakshamanani. So these, what I have said, these 5. Hey Mahavaho. Why is he addressing him as Mahavaho? Madhusudana beautifully explains. Because ये त्याग करना भी सबके वश में नहीं है, समझना भी सबके वश में नहीं है. That's why you require tremendous intellectual and spiritual strength. That therefore he is addressing Arjuna as Mahavahu. Karanani, what is called nirvartakani. Nirvartaka, which sort of induces action in you. pravartakani, nivodhame mama iti. So you please make sense of them. Uttaratra chetah samadhanartham. Why? Because without having a focused and concentrated mind, you will not be able to make sense of this whole signs of why certain karmas give certain phalas. Vastu Vaisamya Pradarsanartham cha. And then among the causes, there are certain distinctions to be made, analytically speaking. All prapancha is mithya in a way. Only Brahman is one. Then, the whole thing becomes very superfluous, isn't it? So, in order to explain that at a Vyavaharika level, how that happens, ultimately it is not real. But at a micro level, they are all real, isn't it? Like, for example, if you go too far away from the solar system will be like a small dot, like a speck of, it's just fine speck of dust in the cosmos. But then you come closer, then you can distinguish. You can see different kinds of astral bodies, isn't it? Similarly, so this particular thing, the Vaishamya Pradarsanartham cha, Tani cha Karanani, in these five causes, Jnatabhyataya Stauti, he's praising them, mentioning them. Sankhya, what is Sankhya? That Shabda is explaining. Jnatavyaha Padarthaha Sankhayante Yasmin Shastre Tat Sankhya Vedanta. जिस शास्त्र में all the Jnatavyaha Padarthaha, what is Jivatma, what is Paramatma. Some people have tried to make sense of this word Sankhya as Sankhya Yoga or Sankhya Darshana, and that is very refuted from a Vedantic standpoint. But could be this is too much of an orthodox interpretation. You can say that because Sankhya Shastra also talks about Prakriti Purusha, but there's a major difference between the Sankhya Shastra and the Vedanta thing. There, the Prakriti is independent of Purusha, and Purusha is Aneka. And that is how absolutely it's difficult to accept Sankhya for us. Because they think Aneka Purusha. There is only one Prakriti, billions and billions of Purushas. For us, everything is that Purusha is what Para Prakriti. Prakriti is Apara Prakriti. That's how we make sense of it, isn't it? So Khetra Gya, that Para and Apara Prakriti, that we have studied already. Now, for them, the Purushas are Aneka. For us, it's one. Ultimately, the Purusha, the Atma is one. And the Prakriti is Tad Adhinam. So this Prakriti is not independent. It's Purushadhina. It is this Ishvara having Maya Upadhi. And therefore, Maya is just an aspect of it. It is an imposition. It is like you cannot separate electricity from the electric bulb. And you cannot separate the Sakti from the Saktiman. That is what we believe in Vedanta. And therefore, this Sankhya means Sankhya Shastra perhaps is not very logical from Vedantic standpoint. Sankhya Jnatavyaha Padartha means not those 24 things, but about this Jivatma, Paramatma, and all that. Sukshma Sarira, Stula Sarira, Panchukosha, Vivek, all that. Sakhyate Yasmin Shastre, Tas Sankhya Vedanta. That Sankhya means Vedanta here. Kritante iti tasya eva visheshanam. Kritanta means of Vedanta. That Vedanta will make sense only when we have all done our duties. That Mimamsa, Karma Kanda, everything is over. Atma Vishodhana has ended. And then you are starting a new phase. So Kritanta is Vedanta. Because Karma Kanda has come to an end. Kritam iti karma uchyate. So by Kritam you say karma. Tasya antaha. That is where परिसमाप्ति ही यत्र सह कृतांत, जहां पर वो कर्म खत्म हो जाता है, वही वेदांत है, कृतांत है, कर्मांतः इत्येतद् यावानर्थे उदपाने. So we have discussed that you don't look for a small well or anything when everything is submerged in water. Similarly, all these individual activities lose their sense because you are already there. That Atmajnana, you're getting the Brahman, so you become Kritakritya. We have discussed that earlier. Sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parishamapyate. Bhagavan has also said this. And therefore, iti atmajnane sanjate sarva karmanam nibritim darshayati. So once one has atmajnana, that is the karmanta. Everything comes to an end. Ataha tasmine atmajnanartham. And therefore, in order for attaining atmajnana, sankhya. That means sankhya, kritante means vedante. that Sankhya and Kritanta and Vedanta are Paryayavachi concepts, denoting the same thing. The Vedanta Shastra, Proktani means Kathitani, has been said by me, Siddhaye, Nispatyartham. Siddhaye means you will have a great understanding. So, how this Sarva Karmanam Siddhaye? So, I have explained to you how these karmas give rise to certain outcomes. That is what he's saying. And let's quickly look at what Madhusudana says, and we'll try to move forward. We still have 5 minutes to finish this verse. Panchemani, Panchetani is written, and here is written Panchemani, but I'm sure it's Panchetani Mahavaho. Imani Bhakyamani Pancha Sarvakarmanam Siddhaye Nispataye Karanani Nirvartakani He Mahavaho. If in your book, in the Ashtatika, somewhere because of a printing error, it may be written Nibartakani. Yes, well, it's a Nirvartakani. Same as Nirvartaka or Pravartaka. It's more or less the same meaning. He Mahavaho. Me means Mama. Parama Aptasya. Why should you take my mata so seriously? Because I am Sarvagya. I am Param Brahmaneva. Parama Aptasya Sarvagyasya cha Vachanam Vachanan Nibodha. Please understand. Bodhum Savadhana Bhava. You try to be attentive. Savadhana. Be attentive. Nahi Atyanta Durgyanani Etani. Because these are very difficult to understand. And therefore, Anavahita Chetasa Sakyante Gyantum. If you are not very attentive, you will not be able to understand what I am saying. That's what Bhagavan is saying himself. Iti Chetaha Samadhana Vidhanena Tani Stauti. So he's saying, when Bhagavan is saying that you try to Nibodhame, is the moment he says, Mahavaho, try to be focused on this, try to understand this. So he is prescribing Chitta Samadhana. That means he's saying there is something very difficult to understand coming. So he's glorifying the causality process of how certain karmas give rise to results. Stuti. Mahavahutvena chat satpurusha eva sakto jnatum. So only a satpurusha means a person with Suddha Antakarna, he alone can understand it. Jnatum iti suchayati. Tutyartham eva. He's trying to please, appreciate Arjuna by appreciating him, referring to him as Mahavaho. Kim etani apramanakani eva tava bachanat jnani na ityaha. Are you saying something from your own mind? There is no such pramana, extra proof, there is no authority. You are saying it, and therefore I should listen to it and accept it. Bhagavan says, no. Sankhye Kritante means Vedante. What I'm telling you is basically a paraphrased advice taken out from the Upanishads. That is written there. Where? Kritante, Sankhye, that means Vedante. In the Vedanta Shastra, that is what is mentioned. Proktani Niratisaya Purushartha Prapyartham. So you will get Niratisaya Purushartha. That means there is no Atisaya afterwards. You become Kritakritya when you have Atma Jnana. Niritisaya Purushartha Praptyartham Sarva Anartha Nibrityartham. All the Anartha. What is Anartha? This whole sansara, janma, mrityu, cruelty, happiness, sadness, delusion, aspiration, anxiety, all these anartha. Nibrityartham cha jnata bhyani jiva brahma tayor aikyam. What is the anarthake is all this, and what is arthaparaga? Only one thing. Jiva brahma is eka eva. Tad bodha upayoginaha. Now, what helps that atma jnana? That Brahma and Jiva is one. Cha Sravanadaya Padarthaha Sankhyayante. So whatever the Sravanadaya Padarthaha, so Sravana Manana Nididhyasana, we are focusing on the Mahavakyas, and so many discussions are there about the Panchukosha, the different kinds of, of the meaning of O, U, Mo, say for example in Mundaka and Mandukya Upanishad. All this is discussed. These are the Padarthas, Sankhyayante. Dyutpadyante, explain. They explain. Tasminiti. These are all explained there. Therefore, this is called Sankhyam. What is that? Vedanta Shastra. Tashmin Atma Vastu Matra Pratipadake. And there, what is discussed in Vedanta? Only Atma Jnana, Atma Vastu Eva. There is no discussion about art or architecture or engineering or ecology. Is there any mention of all this there? No. Therefore, Pratipadake Kimartham Anatma Bhutani Avastuni Loka Siddhani cha Karma Karakani Pancha Pratipadyante. Why are you explaining me कर्म कैसे सिद्ध होता है? वो तो आत्मा के बारे में नहीं है. You are wasting my time. Somebody might ask that question. Why are you trying to discuss with me how karmas give rise to results when you say yourself that sarva karma sannyasi only after atma jnana shall not come back, all others will have to come back? So you are glorifying what? Not only are you saying the muksha sannyasi is a sarva karma sannyasi, Sarvakarma Falatyaga is an intermediate state, but only even after sannyasa, he has to have Atma Jnana, and then only he'll not come back. Having said that, you are again bringing me to a very lower level of discussing how karmas give rise to results. It's a wastage of my time. The student might say that. Bhagavan is identifying that and is addressing that. Ityataha Sastra Visheshanam Kritanta iti. He says, my dear boy, you are still not a Jnanadhikari. You are a Karma Adhikari. Unless you understand the science of karma, how can you dissociate from karma? Unless you know the science of karma, can you become a great Nishkama Karma Yogi? So you have to understand a bad guy to avoid him. In your office, there are 3, 4 toxic people. Unless you know what kind of people they are. I was reading long back a beautiful book. Uh, uh, that is irrelevant. Anyway, if anybody asks you what is the difference between good and innocent, innocent, like a boy, a little girl, they're innocent, they're not good. A good, when you refer to somebody as good, he knows what is evil. Innocence is ignorance of evil. He's needy here, he's innocent. He's not wise. He doesn't know what is evil. Now, if you know what is evil, then there is a possibility that you can be good. When you know what are the dangers of doing karma and where karma traps us, then we understand the science of karma. And Bhagavan earlier had said that it is very difficult to understand karma. Perhaps he's trying to answer a few questions here. And if you understand the science of karma, then we can do it well, efficiently, and with full detachment, and then we can have antakarana suddhi. That is the context in which now he's going to tell us about the science of karma. Okay, so ityata sastra vishesham kritanta iti, because only this Vedanta is kritanta. So you have to finish your karma kandas with a lot of efficiency and wisdom as advised in Vedanta in the last leg. Then you will graduate to the next level, finish your coursework. Then, of course, you can write your thesis. We'll stop here and we'll take it forward tomorrow. We have hit the timeline. So, any questions you can ask, or we can do this Antimantras. Okay, no questions. I'll end the live stream. We'll do this one. Any questions, anyone?
Swamiji,
yeah.
As you said, we know that sannyasi and phalatyagi are not equal, they're relatively equal, more or less equal. But the ultimate stage, as you rightly said, is the jnana.
Yes.
Basically, but in the present context, I believe what I gather is phalatyagi is more relevant, doing a karma and graduating from that level to attain knowledge will be more appropriate to become Jivan Mukta at the end.
Yes, but it's absolutely relevant because Bhagavan has said that to Arjuna again and again, that you cannot do a hyperbolic jump. You can do that quantum jump from one level of existence to another, and that is what he uses these two words, Vishishta and Mithyachara, without doing our duties. So a Phalatyagi, that's why is glorified as a Nitya Sannyasi. So when you do the Sarva Karma Phalatyaga and you are doing it with Ishvara Arapana Buddhya, This is a great boon. And if you look at the spiritual denominations like the Ramakrishna Mission, they bring in this word called practical Vedanta. Vedant apni jaga per hai, and then in society we have a lot of inequality, we have a lot of poverty and ignorance and suffering. And if you're saying that I'm just looking for Atmagyana and you are abandoning this whole sansara and you're going and sitting in a jungle, then definitely that is mithyachara. That will not give you mental peace. So what you're saying is absolutely right. That if you can live the life like a lotus flower, that you continue your life in whatever form you're doing it. But this is a big challenge. It's not easy. That is why people take sannyasa. I have talked to a lot of people, and they tried for some time, but when you become serious, the more and more you become serious, slowly and slowly you'll realize that, okay, it will become easier for me perhaps to switch ashram, and then your system will become incapable of staying in sansara. Then the person takes sannyasa. But that also, in the vividisa sannyasa stage, he still has to do karma, and he has to do karma falatyaga. Then the more and more he refined he becomes, it becomes easy for him. But I absolutely agree with you that even sannyasis have a great social responsibility, and therefore they have to do that. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. So like Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say that you have atmajnana but jagat hitaya cha. You are not only living for yourself but also for the good of the society at large. And that shiva bhave jiva seva, as they say, that you serve the humanity, thinking that everybody represents the Brahman. It's a great thing. That is very transformative. And I think what you're saying, I fully agree with it. There's not a problem. But I would at the same time tell you that in the life of this kind of a sadhaka, there shall come a time when he will be compelled to drop all this. And having done that, he'll graduate and he'll go to the next life, he'll get next level, either in this life or the other life, where he'll be completely absorbed in meditation on the self. And then he will have Atmagyana, the Jivan Mukti Avastha. But that's a whole gradual process. And in the present context, what you said, I cannot agree more with you on this.
And a very interesting point you made, Swamiji, is that God has given this opportunity to self-realize during the whole. That's a very important
Yeah,
point
that
you
is
made.
that I'm not saying is that is Jagyavalkya's advice to Gargi, that, oh Gargi, a man or a human being was got this body, but he wastes it and he returns without finding the self, is definitely very miserly. That is what is written in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. It glorifies the Jnana Yoga and sadhana. Okay, so let's do the Santi mantras. Yeah.
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Oh.